Welcome back, guys, to another video of my really dirty insight. Summertime, so we've got pollen everywhere. But what we are doing in this video is we are doing a valve adjustment. And for some reason, this is general maintenance on most Hondas. This one in particular, obviously I'm doing it for that reason. But if you get loud ticking, usually when it's cold, you're gonna get that loud ticking at idle while it's warming up. Apparently the valves just need to be adjusted at regular intervals as standard maintenance, which sucks. So let's do that. Of course, the first thing we need to do is take this off if you do have it on. So we need to go around and take these little 10 millimeters off, get this thing off. So before I begin, make sure you guys are doing this after the car has been sitting for quite a while. It needs to be completely cool before you do this. After that plastic cover's off, we're going to unscrew this. This is a 17 millimeter. That will pop off. You've got a 10 millimeter here. Pop that open. This is just to keep the bracket on. And then of course get some needle nose, clamp these together so we can get these two hoses off. This one you don't need to take off. You can just pop it out of that, move it over to the side so this whole cover can come off when we get to it. Okay, so now I have these two hoses off. I've got that bracket off. Now we just need to go around and take off all of these 10 millimeters. This little bracket up here is just being held in by that little bolt that's in there. And behind here, you're gonna find more bolts in the back. Just go all the way around, take those out, and this cover will come off. Freedom! Once we have those bolts out, the whole top cover comes off, and now we can see all of our beautiful little valves that need to be adjusted. So you actually don't need a whole lot of tools for this. The only special tool you're gonna need is a feeler gauge, one of these that just has a variety of different widths of little pieces of metal. They've got numbers on them. I'll go through that. If you guys do need this and you don't have one, these are just a few bucks on Amazon. I'll link it down below for you guys so you can look at these. Amazon has a few different ones. I wanted to get one that had a little lip at the end. It just comes up like that, because for this engine it makes it a little bit easier to get underneath there. But I went with these because they had better reviews. Let's see how that goes. So first thing that we need to do is get a 19 millimeter wrench. Bam, right there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna slip it down here onto, there's a little nut down there, kind of hard to see, right at the tip, right there. We want to get on that and we want to turn this so it is top dead center, and you're gonna see a white line there. Another one somewhere. So it looks like I'm not able to get my open end wrench down in here. So what I'm gonna do over here on the side is I'm gonna take this little plastic clip off, and I should be able to get a socket in there and pop it on that little nut down there. Okay, so I was able to pop that off pretty easy. I just stuck some needle nose and pried it, and then it popped open. This is what it looks like. If you are getting leaking from it, it looks like it just, it uses an O-ring to seal it. So you can always find an O-ring and pop a new one on there if it is leaking. But once we get that in here, we need a 14 millimeter, and I put a socket on there. 14 millimeter fits that. I thought it was a different size according to forums, but I guess that is a 14. We're gonna pop it in there and we're gonna turn it until we see a white line. Okay, so the only way I can do this is with my phone. So right there's the dipstick. I'm gonna squeeze the camera in here so you guys can see it. Down there, you're gonna see the little arrow right there. You're gonna have a white line that comes to that. That lets you know you're at top dead center. Also, right over here, once we get to it, I'm not there yet, I'm just showing you guys. Once we actually get here, there's going to be that white line I told you about, and there's also gonna be a number 1. And there you go, you see the line, not white, again, I am wrong, but there is a line there. I really don't think my camera's picking it up, but there is a number 1 right below that line. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to come back up, and we need to focus on, since this is top dead center, this is on the first cylinder. So the first cylinder is gonna be these two and these two. These two are going to be your exhaust, and these two are going to be your intake. So when we're doing this, the intake is gonna be from 0.007 to 009, and the exhaust is gonna be 008 to 010. That's the clearance that we're gonna have when we go through those 4. So I am gonna start with one of these and see how bad they are. I also watched other people doing this, and they said, if you just wiggle this, you should have some play. That means it's in the right position. These other ones shouldn't have any play in them. Maybe, oh, these do. Maybe that's how it works. Anyway, the ones we're working with, they've got play in them. So, yeah, let's do it. All right, so here I have my 0.008, because I am gonna be working on the exhaust side. All of these are exhaust because, you know, that's where your exhaust, and these are intake because that's where the intake is. So, 0.008, a good way to figure out where this goes, if this is your first time doing it, if you look in on the side, so here it is on the side, if you want to figure out where the little feeler is supposed to go, you can take this and move it up and down like I did before, and that little piece that is actually moving like that, you can see that it lifts off a piece on there. You're just going to want to put that feeler gauge underneath the little piece that lifts off. It's just like 2 little pieces that go up and down. Put it under there, and the way that's supposed to go is you need to have a little bit of resistance when you're putting it in there. Not too much resistance, you don't want too much to where it doesn't slide, but you also don't want not enough resistance to where it just kind of slides right through without anything. You want a little bit of resistance going in and out. So I'm gonna do these 2, and then I'll move on to the intake. So this first one had way too much resistance on it. So in order to adjust these, get a 10 millimeter, and then you get your closed end, you can pop it, you can get an open end too, but pop that on there. You're gonna loosen it up, and by cracking this open and loosening it, on the inside, you have a flathead to where you can actually adjust it down or up. So that part right there is the actual adjusting portion, down or up, and the little nut that you're cracking open with this locks it in place. So just pop this open a little bit to unlock the piece in the middle, get a flathead on there and tighten it or loosen it depending, and then that should be your adjustment. Now the second one here is also pretty tight. Now what I didn't mention before, I'll mention it now, is you need to try to get this as flat as possible under here. You don't want to come in like this and kind of bend it, because then you're going to be doing it like this instead of straight through. So for this one I went in at an angle that's nice and flat. This one I actually stuck the feeler gauge in through here to get as flat as possible, and yeah, we're gonna have some fun with these other ones to try to get it flat. That's why I'm saying, if you do want to get one that has the little bend at the ends, probably a lot easier for this engine. I don't know about other engines though. Okay, so I just finished up with the 2 exhaust ones. They were a little bit too tight, so loosened them up, and then it was too loose, and then I had to go back down. But now that I'm done, tighten these back up. And once you tighten these back up, and not just, because what I did was I snugged it up just a little bit so it would lock it in place, put the feeler in there, and then once it was good, really tighten these back up to what they were. I think they're supposed to be like 8 to 10 foot-pounds of torque. I just hand tightened it to a little bit over snug to make sure that they're not going to move anywhere while these things are going up and down. I'm just saying, recheck once you actually tighten these when you're done with them, because it could possibly move the little adjuster in the middle. So now we're going to move to these. I'm going to put these at 0.007. So same process. I'm going to stick the feeler under there and see how close or how far those are. once all of these are in their proper position, we're gonna go back here and we're gonna rotate this little sprocket 120 degrees. That will move it to cylinder number 3. That's just the way that the rotation works. So we did 1, we're gonna rotate it 120 degrees to the next line. The line's not gonna have a number under it though. And then we can adjust these 4. So 120 degrees and you should get that line. So make sure you know exactly how much you're turning. All right, so I did the same thing for cylinder number 3, adjusted those, and now we need to do cylinder number 2, the last one. So it's the same process, 120 degree turn until that next line lines up. Make sure it's level with the engine. And once you are all done, make sure you go back through and make sure that all of those are nice and tight, because you don't want any of those loose. That will be very bad. So just double check, make sure all of those are nice and tight, and everything just goes back in reverse order. You just put the valve cover back on here, put the bolts in, and make sure the hoses are clamped back in, and then start your car and enjoy it. I am going to do an oil change since the car needs it anyway. So I'm gonna pop everything back on here, drain the oil, and get this thing hopefully running a little bit smoother. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so you can get some behind the scenes stuff that hasn't happened yet and unreleased content that no one else has seen. And if you haven't already, watch that video. And if you've watched that video, watch that video. And if you've watched both of those videos already, make sure you subscribe down here. Yeah, watch this stuff. It's awesome. And if you've watched that, and subscribed,